They say there's a harmony in autumn, a luster in its sky, and a prayer on its breath. But all over the state of Ohio, fall brings different feelings. It may seem like a kick in the jaw or a kick in the butt. It may feel like a slap in the face or have you doing flips. It just may seem like a ride in the park. Whatever fall means to you, it will put a bounce in your step and ask who will do it better than anyone in Ohio this fall.
Bond. James Bond. James Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
Name's Bond. James Bond.
We were thinking of something more soccer-related.
Soccer. Wildcat soccer.
Yes, it would be the 2000 St. Ignatius Wildcat soccer team. With 9 starters returning from the 99 state regional semifinalists, the Wildcats brought experience, determination, and soccer skills to face down the most difficult schedule of any team in the state. Join us for 11 weeks of the finest in Wildcat soccer, an adventure of highs and lows that ultimately taught us that records don't last forever, and that in the friendship, teamwork, and brotherhood of this team, nobody did it better.
Coming into the season, everybody was excited. We ended the season on a note last year where we were a little bit disappointed, to say the least, and we knew graduating only 2 seniors, only 2 starters, that we were going to be coming back strong, and so everybody's excited to be coming back with a year more of experience and with quite a few of the starters. And so we really were excited about the schedule that we had set out, and just the teams that we were going to play throughout the state, and with the ability, the skill that we had, the senior leadership that we had, and just the desire that we had to do something special this year, got everybody off on a really strong note.
An opening 13-1 victory over Valley Forge and a follow-up 9-0 blanking on a football field at Nordonia set the proper tone for the first major test for the Wildcats. That came Labor Day weekend when State Power Centerville visited Pokrova Park.
Centerville traditionally has always been one of the better teams and one of the stronger programs, and so putting them at the beginning of the schedule, at the beginning of the season, and to be able to go out and to play and to beat them 4-0 sent a message to the state, but also sent a message to us, letting us know that we were capable of playing with the big boys and definitely doing what we want with the big boys. So we were really proud of what we did, and the way we did it was especially unique, and being able to beat them 4-0, and I don't think there's been a team that's beat Centerville 4-0 in probably 10 years, so that got us off on the right foot.
Coach McLaughlin took his Wildcat out of its cage again 4 days later, and it devoured the St. Edwards Eagles. Hat tricks by David Mayer and Pablo Isanina, and single tallies by Met Nairn and junior mid Dave Vargas resulted in an 8-0 victory. The Wildcat was still hungry, and a treacherous bus ride south to some of the finest dining in central Ohio was next up on the Wildcats menu. The Wildcats would dine Saturday evening at Dublin Kaufman and have a pleasant Sunday brunch at Worthington Kilbourne. Entering Columbus, the Wildcats had outscored its first 4 opponents 34-1 and had received its first national ranking of the season by Fox Sports at number 17 in the country. Cleveland game scoreless at halftime. 5 minutes into the second half, senior captain Kevin Meehan set Kaufman back on its heels with a devastating goal kick that Pablo Isanina found and tallied for the game's first goal. Kaufman's defense began to crumble as great midfield play led to Isanina's second goal of the night. The Wildcat defense, unscored upon from scrimmage, would not only continue this streak, but also contribute to the Wildcat attack. Even a referee knows a good goal when he sees one, and pats on the back were well deserved by all. The Ignatius scoring was rounded out with a hat trick by Isanina, assisted by junior midfielder Nick Tarney, and unassisted goals by David Mayer and Vinny Rundo.
We were excited to go down to Columbus to play Worthington Kilbourne. We were a man down, and we were able to score 4 goals a man down.
The defense incurred heavy pressure, but outstanding play by sweeper Kevin Meehan. And junior stopper Ryan Sturba kept the game even. Wildcats had to hang on after a red card left them a goal down and a man short. Ignatius switched from a 4 to a 3-man defense and played mistake-free soccer, while the offense kicked into overdrive with goals by Isanina, Aaron, Rundo, and Mayer. The bus ride back to Cleveland would be a sweet one, but the visit to Columbus left no doubt that the Worthington Kilbourne Wolves were a pack to be reckoned with. With several players injured from the weekend, the Wildcats limped over to University School for a match with the Preppers. Pablo Isanina booted home 2 goals. And former U.S. standout David Mayer greeted his former teammates with 2 more. Meanwhile, the Wildcat defense notched a shutout.
However, the guys off the bench filled in beautifully. You don't really want to mess around with the defense. When guys came off the bench, we didn't miss a beat, and that's something that's just terrific. People stayed on their marks tight, and there's really not too much I really had to do because they knew what they were doing, and they were in control of the situation, and I was just overviewing it all and just having a good time.
Solid Wildcat defense, despite unexpected pressure at Toledo St. John, kept the Cats in the game until Ignatius could find the back of the Titans' net. An injury to Wildcat goalkeeper Sean Supler gave sophomore Chris Brantley his first action wearing the paws. But the gang from Cleveland, which had been averaging 7 goals per game, could manage only 2 tallies against its Jesuit rival. The ensuing 2-2 tie would be the only blemish for the Cats in their first 14 games. The Holy Name Green Wave was next on the Wildcats' agenda. 2 goals by David Mayer and single notches by Dave Vargas, Ryan Sturba, Dino Campolone, Trevor Dewar, and Chris Eyring left the Green Wave drowning. The St. Ignatius midfield controlled the game.
I found it easy to play alongside everybody in the midfield, taking more of the defensive role in the midfield. I could always count on the rest of the guys to step up, take care of the offensive roles. I never felt the need to move forward. I knew if I did my job, everybody else would take care of theirs.
I remember against Holy Name, I had the misfortune of misplacing my shoe, I guess you could say. It was untied, I went down to tie it, and the ball came my way. And I was like, okay, just forget about it. You know, it'll stay on. It's a shoe. It's what it's designed to do. And lo and behold, it popped right off. So I found myself with only one shoe on, and I said, you know what? It's my duty that I have to stop this guy. So I said, hey, you know, just stick him and then worry about the shoe later. It's all that matters.
The following Sunday's match with the highly ranked Menor Cardinals was played on a waterlogged field. An elbow to the face would sideline Nick Tarney, but the Wildcats prevailed 5-2 with a hat trick by David Mayer and single scores by Metin Aaron and Dave Vargas. The game was the back end of a two-game tournament. Saturday evening's game with Strongsville had been halted by lightning, and that would have to be continued later. Now it was on to Solon.
Well, I'd like to take a look at that oil pumping station.
Yeah, that'll be tough. It's very heavily guarded.
The heavily guarded goal mouth of the Solon Comets was relatively safe from the Wildcat assault for the first 40 minutes. But these Comets were about to disintegrate. 2 goals by defender Ryan Sturba led an unanswered 6-goal barrage. Solon's speedy and periodic counterstrikes were no match for the ever-vigilant Wildcat defense. A penalty kick at the end of the game resulted in the Comets' only score. Hopes were high as the Wildcats were about to face Western Conference rival North Royalton, one of just 4 teams to defeat the Cats in the '99 season.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
But the Bears, about to finish the regular season with an impressive 10-5-1 record, were no match for the top-ranked Wildcats. A 3-0 shutout was the final result. All of Northeast Ohio anticipated the next contest, which would feature the defending state champion North Olmsted Eagles. Losing to the Wildcats in their '99 Western Conference matchup, the Eagles went on to capture first place in the state tournament. Wildcat students and other fans of the blue and gold cheered as junior varsity coach Jim Brennan led the Cats into Cleveland State's Krensler Field in what has become a Wildcat custom. Coach Brennan, who coached all of the boys at one time or another during the past 4 years, is fond of using the pipes as his own sort of revelry when the team travels out of town, such as on the Columbus trip. Coach Jim Brennan's bagpipes, another St. Ignatius tradition. With 10 minutes remaining in the first half and playing without All-Ohio booter Pablo Isanina, the Wildcats would strike first.
Well, Pablo's irreplaceable. When he went down, I mean, he was having one of the best years as a forward Ignatius has had. He was a huge part of this year's success for the first half of the season. And it didn't really just mean that I had to step up and play well. It was the whole team had to come together and just play better as a team.
And play as a team they did. 3 goals by David Mayer. 1 goal and assist by Dave Vargas. A goal by Dino Campolone. And 2 assists by Metin Aaron shredded North Olmsted's flatback defense. A relatively foul-free game, the Plain Dealer described it as an embarrassment to the defending state champions. Outstanding defensive play by goalkeeper Sean Supler, Ryan Sturba, Phil Gibbs, Nick Tarmy, and sweeper Kevin Meehan put an exclamation point on the 5-0 victory. Little did anyone know at the time there'd be another chapter to this story.
A glowing tribute, Mr. Kidd.
feel the heat of the Wildcats' firepower would be the Padua Bruins. Dino Campolone would strike first without an assist. Phil Gibbs would then follow on a pass from Vinny Rundo. Nick Tarney, with 2 assists on the day, would then find Chris Eyring for a score. Phil Gibbs would return the earlier favor by sliding the ball to Rundo for a goal. The increasingly familiar combination of Metnair and David Mayer would strike for another goal, and Kevin Meehan would add to Padua's problems. Strongsville was up next.
All right, let's get down to business.
Ranked first in the state, the Wildcats traveled to Strongsville to resume the game previously halted by lightning. Strongsville's 2 forwards, with their speed and quickness, were a daunting duo. Goalkeeper Chris Brantley replaced Sean Supler after an injury. Leading 1-0 when the game resumed, Strongsville struck fast and twice. Down 3-0 and out in the minds of many, the Wildcats began to fight back. A trip of Chris Eyring in the penalty area led to the first Ignatius goal. Then a crossing pass from Eyring enabled David Mayer to score the Wildcats' second tally. The prospect of scoring a 3rd straight goal on one of the top teams in the state after trailing 3-0 seemed impossible. But the entire Wildcat team struck on a transition play. And midfielder Dave Vargas snaked his way up the left side for a shot and a game-tying goal. A final Wildcat goal was not enough to blunt the flurry of Strongsville aggression. And the Cats, ranked 5th in the country at the time, had to endure their first loss of the year.
And the home of the...
The Normandy Invaders bounded into the final regular season game for both teams for a contest on the carpet at Byers Field. Despite significant injuries, the Cats scored 4 unanswered goals to begin the game and repelled the Invaders' ensuing attack as they won it by a final count of 4-2. In the 2000 season, the St. Ignatius Wildcats would win more games and score more goals than any other soccer team in the school's history. With 43 goals, David Mayer set a new school record for the most individual goals in a season. He also had the most goals in a single game when he scored 6 times. But any great goal scorer will tell you he is only as strong as his midfielders play. And in this 2000 season, the effort by the Ignatius midfielders was outstanding. Most impressively, Metnair set a school record for most assists in a season when he did it 21 times.
Our offense was incredible this year. It was a pleasure to play with those guys. I think one of the reasons why our offense was so potent this year was just because we were all friends, and we weren't afraid to make that extra run because we knew that our friends and our teammates were going to get us the ball.
Senior forward David Mayer not only was named Player of the Year in Greater Cleveland, he was also named the Ohio Player of the Year and picked for the All-American squad. Cats received all Greater Cleveland status. Once again sporting the highest GPA of any Ignatius varsity team, Wildcats David Mayer, Metten Aaron, Trevor Dewar, and Chris Eyring were named to the Academic All-Ohio team. Coach Mike McLaughlin was the Western Conference Coach of the Year, the Greater Cleveland Private Parochial Coach of the Year, and the Ohio Private Parochial Coach of the Year. Ranked first in the state and 7th in the country, the Wildcats had a bye in the first round of the state playoffs. They defeated Garfield Heights in the sectionals 15-0, and then met Solon for the second time and beat them in the district semis, and then repeated as district champs when they knocked off Normandy 5-1. In the regional semifinal game played at Kent Roosevelt High School, the Wildcats met and conquered Austintown Fitch. The game was significant because it marked Pablo Isanina's return to the lineup, and he responded with the 4th goal of the game. Also scoring goals were Dave Vargas, Metten Aaron, and Nick Tarney. And Dino Campolone scored on a penalty kick. Regional championship, the Wildcats faced the Hudson Explorers, who had marched through their season undefeated. The Wildcats drew first blood in the first half. But then experienced major anxiety when Metten Aaron suffered an injury and had to be rushed to the hospital. But the Wildcats would respond, scoring 3 more goals. and it resulted in a 5-2 Wildcat victory. This great save by Sean Supler on a Hudson penalty kick provided the inspiration for the Wildcats to hang on for the win. Ignatius have been ranked #1 in the state for the entire season. A daunting achievement and responsibility. There was little doubt they had become the major soccer target in the state of Ohio. And on the very night the country would outvote a presidential candidate who would be declared the winner, the top-ranked Wildcats met North Olmsted a second time in the state semifinal championship game. The contest began with scoring opportunities for both sides and initially appeared similar to the last meeting between these two teams. But suddenly, a different, darker theme began to emerge. The Eagles, who had committed only 9 fouls against the Wildcats in the first encounter, would foul St. Ignatius players, especially forwards Isanina and Mayer, on 24 occasions when the referee would actually stop play to declare a foul. The effect of the aggressive physical play by the Eagles was to retard the Wildcat possession game. It gave the Eagles numbers up on restarts. The game was hard fought, and an overflow crowd at Cleveland State held their breath as the scoreless game entered the final minute of play. What happened next will be forever etched in the minds and memories of the players on this team, the coaches, their families, and the fans of St. Ignatius soccer.
Our goal in the North Olmsted game and our goal in every game was to put everything that we have out on the field. And I think that we did that against North Olmsted. And I think that when we do that as a group with the talent that we have, 99.9% of the time we're going to come out successful. And I think it was at 0.01% of was that night, and that's the game of soccer. And it's a great game, and it also can be a cruel game, and no more said.
I think this is the best team. You know, maybe you could argue X's and O's. I mean, certainly the numbers would speak well for ourselves, but this was truly a team, and that was the nice thing about it. I think that's what always makes it the best.
I'm filled with pride with the way that these guys conducted themselves, and I think this is one of the finest, not one of the finest, this is the finest group that we've ever had. And I think that they have raised the standard and set a new mark for other teams to follow in St. Ignatius soccer history.
There will be no state championship trophy for the Wildcats this year, but with shattered records, multiple championships, and awards ranging from local to All-American, there was plenty to cheer about. More importantly, this team blended their soccer talents with heart, courage, teamwork, and brotherhood to leave a legacy for future Wildcat teams. The 2000 St. Ignatius Soccer Cats. Nobody did it better.